welcome back to another episode of Farming Life at Laforge. For those of you who are new here, my name is Laura and this episode is all about an Irish family from Galway who moved to France to farm. In today's episode we will be going over to the second farm to see Dad's hedge cutting. We have done this in the last video, but however the hedge has changed, so it is just a different type altogether, so we'll be showing you guys that. Later this evening I will be going to my new workshop over on the second farm as well. If you've seen in the first videos, I was setting that up. It's not fully where I want it to be just yet, but I have light and electricity so I can start working anyway, so you'll get to see what I am doing there. And at the end of today's video we will be talking about our winter tillage. So we are in tillage mode, as Dad likes to call it, and I will talk to you all about what we are sowing, why we're sowing it, and the different machines and tractors that we are currently using for all of that.
There's a nice cut like a pruner, and it goes up good and high. The cuts that width, you have to go kind of slow, but to straighten out a ditch that hasn't been cut in a while, it was nearly 2.5 metre, and no bother to it. Big branches are slower, but works really well. It came with the hedge cutter. That's why we have it extended out so the branches don't fall on the tractor. We'll have this frame and lights on the tractor to protect the tractor. Before we did that, one fell on the bottom.
It came with the hedge cutter, and what this does is it is cutting all the bigger, heavier branches. So we will do this in fields that we are going to be sowing corn, so that when the storms hit we don't have branches falling down or the combine isn't hitting off of branches. The reason that we like the fact that this is telescopic is also that when doing these bigger branches we can extend it out so it's away from the tractor. We also have a support light system on the edges and protections. Dad said it earlier, I don't know if you could hear it. So it just saves us the hassle of when the corn is sowed, going around picking up branches everywhere and it possibly flattening the corn and losing some grain. It's also a great way for shaping hedges, especially on this farm here, since we've just bought it. The other two farms have already been done. They only need to be done every few years. Other than that, it's just your usual hedge cutting. For the hedge cutting. It's time to go home now, have a hot cup of tea because it is getting very cold out here now. The lovely summer days are gone, and then this evening I will show you guys what I'm doing in the workshop. Okay, so now we are back in my workshop. So it's not fully set up yet. However, I have got electricity and I've set up a little light just there. So I'm able to work with what I've got. My fret saw is working and I can just get started. So what I do in my workshop is a bit of everything really. So what I'll be doing in my workshop now is obviously have the furniture to get together. I still have quite a lot to bring down, so that's going to take up a lot of time. But for now, especially leading up to Christmas, I start getting ready on some jigsaws and stuff that I do make as gifts, so that I can at least get them up online, and then when my orders come in I'll have time to do that, and waiting for that I can be at my furniture. So this is a bull's head. So kind of just making kids jigsaws, like that's a pig that I just made. Just have to finish sanding off the edges because the fret saw leaves a bit when you're cutting on the fret saw. The top is always fine and nice and smooth, but the bottom is always quite rougher, so I need to get that sanded. So as they're for young children, need to take the edges off them, take any real sharpness out so that they can't cut themselves, and they need to be nice big pieces and quite easy jigsaw to get together. And then we oil them with edible oil. So that is our bull and our pig done and ready to be oiled. So for these, I need to bring them home to do them because I just use regular cooking oil and I heat it up. So having the hot oil helps it get deep into the wood as well, giving it that extra bit of protection. And also the heat will kill any bacteria or any germs that's currently in the wood. So it gives, just that better protection so that it's safe for kids to use. So this here is the Ford 7000. It's gotten a bit dusty from the other ones. It is a little bit more complicated just in the way that you cut it. You can make it as complicated as you want. So even on a single piece, even on a single level jigsaw, we can still add as much difficulty as needed into it, just depending on what direction I cut it and how I cut it with the fret saw. So yeah, it's just a little Ford 5000 on a stand, can be set up like that. So now I'm just going to clean off all the dust that's on it from cutting the other ones, and then I will give it a last coat. So on this I use wax, so it is a coloured wax. It is mortal Fred does. There's no real harm in the wax. However, I'm just not 100% sure, and like that I'm also not company, so I can't take that risk. So time to give this its last coat. If I can find everything. So for this I do just use a nail brush. So kind of take off any dust. So then I just get my wax. So this one is slightly tinted. And then, so what I use is this is kind of a brush that you use for dyeing your hair. So it's just handy because it gets in to all the little cracks. And then just start giving it a rough go. So it does get quite messy, but who cares? It's only going to wax my hands. So now that piece there is done. So I leave it over on my waxing bench, which is always away from the dust. So next time, hopefully my clock inserts will have arrived and you will get to see what these look like when they're fully finished and packaged away. I'll also have to do some photos to put them up on probably Etsy and Facebook or eBay or whatever is the best for selling on. first thing we are sowing is whole crop silage. We will be sowing about 36 hectares this year. That is about 90 acres or so. The whole crop silage, we will also mix some permanent pasture grass through it. We will only mix it through some, as the rest that we don't have any permanent pasture through, we will be sowing maize on for after. So next year we are hoping to have about 14 hectares of maize, compared to this year that we only sow 7, so we sowed half what we normally sow, but we are planning to pick back up on the maize. In spring, when it comes time to cut the whole crop silage, we generally leave about 3 hectares that we can then cut later on in the year when it dries out a bit with the combine harvester, so that we can get our own seed. Just because seed is so expensive to buy, we prefer to just sow it and reuse what we sow. So these here behind me are our bags full of this year's seed. So Dad is here to explain to you what is in the seed.
Some of our own seed we harvest from about 3 hectares. You have a bean, high protein bean, 2 forms of peas. There's one, I don't know the name of that one, and the other one, they call it over here Vess, the blacker one. And then we have Italian ryegrass, and 2 types of cereal, it's wheat and triticale. And the triticale grows higher so the peas can crawl up along it, and works well. We have great results on our crop in the spring.
So this year we are going to be sowing 40 to 50 hectares of wheat, so that would be our second winter crop. Normally we would do a lot more. Normally on other years we would have sowed about 140 hectares, that's about 350 acres, whereas this year, yes, that's 130, 150 acres I think that we're sowing. So the reason that we sow wheat is obviously for the grain itself, so keep most of the grain to feed our livestock. However, we also sow it for the straw. So as you can see here behind me, all of our sheds are straw bedded. So in France there's no real slatted sheds, so we don't have any slurry putting out. You wouldn't normally see slurry as you would in Ireland, unless it's maybe in the dairy or in pigs, but that is more north country of France rather than down here in the middle of France where we are. It is mainly beef cattle. We have found that in recent years the price of straw has gone up, and also has the demand. We have a lot of people, even just neighbours around, looking for straw, so we are also going to be selling a small bit of that, but we do keep the main part just for ourselves. So we have 2 balers. So this here is our round baler wrapper. We got this baler in Germany. It is a great baler wrapper. We use it for all our bales. We also have a square baler that I will show you in a minute. So this baler here, when we do for straw, it does 2 metre high bales. That's just under 7 foot I think. We prefer the bigger bales because when putting them in the straw chopper we can put in 2 bales and that will do us for the day, whereas if we did 4x4 bales we'd have to keep putting them in, and we would waste a lot more time, filling up the straw chopper, as it only takes 2 bales at a time. So this here behind me is our square baler. It is a New Holland baler. We bought it about 8 years ago in Belgium. We use the square baler mainly for hay and straw when we are going to sell it. The reason that we like to do square bales is for transport. So if anyone's buying straw, mainly those who have lorries, when they're looking to buy hay or straw, they will always ask that it be in square bales. So just to make that be easier, we do have the square baler. When you get used to them, they are very quick. However, you do need to get the bales out of the field as soon as possible, as any thunderstorms or rainfall comes, the bales tend to soak up very fast. So that is the only downside we really find to having the square bales. So here we have our Valderstrad 3 metre corn sower. We have her here on the 8730. So this sower holds up to a ton of corn at a time. So we don't plough, we use a direct drill system. We got the Valderstrad in England about 7 years ago, as they are not very common over here. So this is the 8340 with our Hardy sprayer on the back. So this sprayer holds up to 2000 litres. It has 12 metre accordion booms. So we tend to prefer this one, even though we have also got one that has 24 metre booms, just because when we have smaller fields, it gets into the corners a lot, as well as that the 24 metre booms do tend to hit off the ground from time to time. We do use that one when the corn gets a little bit higher, as it matches the span on the manure spreader. So we also use the 7740 when we are rolling. So we roll just after sowing, especially for the whole crop silage, as when we go in with the mower we don't want to be hitting any stones. Sometimes we also roll in the springtime, just depending on the weather and how tall the grass is. So that's it for today's episode. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. A massive thank you to Hate Team TV and everybody else who subscribed to our channel. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. We have now hit 200 subscribers, so we are going to be doing the video of what happened when we moved to France and why. So I am working on that video as much as I can. We're trying to get the old footage of when we first arrived in France. I cannot promise anything, but hopefully I can get that. It is on video, so I have to get that over onto MP4 and then see if we can even make out anything on the screen. And if we can, I will try and get a few clips of what the farm looked like before we came, and then I will get Mum and Dad sitting down talking about when we first arrived. So once again, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to subscribe for more.